black police officers, either going to other agencies, Elkhart or LaPorte. Even women officers have complained. You know, we know Joy Phillips, I think, was one. And her parting shot was a white South Bend police officer. She'd much rather work for, or she'd much rather be with the guys on the street, meaning the criminals, than work for her supervisors because she didn't trust them. Okay, so I understand from talking to an officer, after retirements and people leaving, there's only going to be 8 black officers left this year. I also understand the police department has had to lower their standards for there. Some officers coming out of the academy that have been hired at a lower standard than what was normally required because they have such a desperate need for officers. So we have 2 college-educated males, and I know you're interested in criminal justice.
Yeah.
And you certainly are qualified with, you know, over 4 years undergrad and you know, the years you spent, you know, seeking your master's degree. That would be the type of person that you would think that a police department, law enforcement agency would want to attract.
It's a $45,000 a year salary, right?
With paid insurance and that kind of thing.
Paid insurance. I mean, why wouldn't any black person who is not making diddly squat here in the city, why wouldn't you want to take that position?
Well, they're having a hard time recruiting.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And they're trying to recruit minority officers, but they wonder why. And it's because we have a strained relationship with the South Bend Police Department. And it's not just black people, it's white people too. I mean, I
mentioned Joy Phillips,
the
white female officer that left and went to Elkhart after she filed a lawsuit. And there's several lawsuits that you know, had been filed by black officers in the last couple of years. I think one of them was settled, but the others are ongoing. So what I want to do is for people watching who, you know, don't believe what you're saying, it can't be that bad. Black people can get a job, and you know, there is 53% poverty because they're just lazy and can't find a job. Get a job. You know, it's funny when the thing with Deshaun Franklin, of course, that the Franklin family, and when Officer Knepper, 2 other Kneppers, went into their home at 3:10 in the morning without a warrant. And they end up going to trial and were awarded. Deshaun was $1, and then there were some other charges that the jury awarded $1 for each one, which amounted to $18. Okay, and so people say this. They say, "Well, it was a jury." Well, let me put this in perspective again. Back to the mayor, because all politics are local, and the mayor really is the one that determines the environment of justice and fairness here in South Bend. He's a chief executive officer for the city. So my response is, well, when you had the situation with the South Bend police tapes, you paid 4 officers $500,000 without benefit of any discovery, no interrogatories, no depositions, or any of that. You never listened to the tapes, and people say, well, that's illegal. Well, if that's the case, why did you pay $250,000 to Karen DePape, the director of communications, that heard all of the tapes? She hasn't been charged. She's been paid to be silent about what's on the tapes. So you pay 4 officers and 1 wife $500,000, Mr. Mayor, in a settlement, okay, without even asking them to hear the tapes, without doing any discovery, but you offered Deshaun, and without any showing of damages. What were the damages to these officers, right?
Right.
Well, here you got Deshaun, who's tased while he's asleep. Okay? I mean, I want you to get this. Tased while he's asleep. And then punched by Officer Knepper once or twice. Knepper claims that when they went in there and told Deshaun to get up out of his bed, that Deshaun went for his gun, Officer Knepper, so he had to punch him. And then they had to tase him and drag him out of his bedroom at 3:10 in the morning. Well, the taser prong stuck in his side for about an hour. And they had to call paramedics to come and remove the taser prong. Okay. All right. So if you're saying that there were no damages,
and he's traumatized now. Still.
Yeah, and he really is afraid.
He really is.
Yeah. If you're saying there are no damages for that, but you paid 4 officers and their wife, and then 1 wife, $500,000, what were their damages? They certainly didn't get punched and tased. So again, Deshaun Franklin, I know because I've talked to him during that time that happened. I haven't talked to him recently, but he was afraid to even come out anymore. and how many other young black men saw that or were involved in that, who are now either traumatized or angry for being disrespected?
My dad has similar experiences with the SBPD.
Yeah.
You know, walking down the street, being harassed, being punched, you know, just picked on. You know, I mean, it's just a form of intimidation to let you know not to get out of character.
And again, I want to be fair and say that not all officers are like that.
Right.
Would you agree? Okay. And I know I've got officers I consider friends, but the reality is there is a percentage of bad officers. And what makes that bad, because the mayor won't discipline them, then all officers are lumped together.
Yeah.
This is just crazy.
Yeah.
So okay.
And what scares me about just their issues with recruiting, or the challenges that they have with recruiting, are you have the county area is really conservative, right? And we know there's elements out there, folks out there who don't like black folks, right? And these folks are also poor, you know. They're racist for reasons they don't even quite understand yet.
Well, you're not saying all. You just
Not all, not all.
Okay.
I'm not all. But I worry about those folks who are out there who don't have a job, who are mad at, you know, minorities, black folks in particular, because of everything that's going on in the news with the protests, because of the economic conditions, thinking that jobs are being taken away from them when it's really not, not by us, I should say. How many of them will say, you know what? I see that every other officer's getting off for beating up black folks. I see that they didn't care about Deshaun Franklin. I need a job. I need to make $45,000 and support my family. Why don't I get on South Bend Police Department and have that cover? I mean, those are the kind of officers that seem to be glorified in the force. I mean, all of the infractions that Nepper has, I mean, he's been on the force for 7-8 years.
Yeah,
and
30. He's at 30 complaints. 30 citizens complaints.
30 citizen complaints, and he has not been reprimanded.
Right, but I mean, you have Tim Corbett. I mean, case you know he's famous for him using the N-word, and a lot of people have verified that. But he's the commander of Metro Homicide. How much trust do you have in a homicide investigation, knowing the head of Metro Homicide has used the N-word before? It just seems to be an oppressive environment here.
Yeah.
And of course, when you go to the mayor and say, hey, look at this and look at these stats, what have you found the response to be? I mean, I know you've talked to people that support the mayor and the
it's
mayor.
Really bad.
I don't know mayor himself.
It's really bad. You know, yeah, it's really bad, but we're working on it, and we need you to be here because we're all on the same team, and we're trying to address these things. And then it's meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, and then they just sort of drag you, which I knew this was going to happen, but I want to take other people along the ride with me to see it. You had to experience it yourself. Oh, of course, yeah.
And I can tell you this, I've been an activist since 1989, and South Bend has faced the same problems that we're talking about now during the time that I began and that's what caused me to become an activist, okay? So, you know, what is that? Justice delayed is justice denied. And there just seems to be a pattern, a willfulness of denying justice to people, which I think forces violence. And I'm not saying that. Let me say it this way: it's a choice to shoot someone, okay? And I don't think there's anything that should justify anyone deciding to pick up a gun.
Right.
But I think if you look at the fact that you're dealing with, you guys are educated, both of you are college educated. So a college educated person is going to process conflict differently. You know what I'm saying? You're going to just say, well, the guy that's making me angry is just an idiot, or it's just some uneducated person, and I choose to ignore them. But imagine now you've got a marginal education, okay? You're already angry about the internal environment that you're within which you're living, okay? You're already ready to go off, okay? And you know they don't have what you guys have to draw back on.
Exactly.
You guys have
Exactly.
hope. You guys have hope. Would you agree? You have, because you guys both, I can apply for a job, and then you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But to have poor language skills.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
They have
poor reading skills,
skills,
mathematical skills,
and
to have no skills.
To have no skills,
honestly.
right? Exactly. Do you understand? I mean, that's got to be oppressive.
And I try to tell people that they're not building a future for Black South Bend here, right? Because if you know that folks are poor, lowly educated, and you're saying that the future of South Bend is going to be to bring in all this technology and these tech firms, but yet when I say
your workforce is not.
Your workforce is not equipped with those skills to take on these jobs. So therefore, you either have to get these folks, these employees from Notre Dame or from other parts of the country.
Plus, you're not doing vocational training.
And you're not doing vocational training.
You're not even doing, okay, so the guy can't do geometry or trig and basic, okay, I'm not going to say geometry or the basic math, but they can't even do basic math.
Right.
So, okay, forget a tech job. But the guy can't even be a plumber or a carpenter because there's no vocational education in the schools. So they are just, well, then you have this thing about 1.6 GPA if you're going to play sports.
Yeah.
So basically,
you can make money for us.
Yeah, you can entertain us.
Yeah, you
can make money for us.
Yeah. But we're not going to educate.
It's like gladiators. You know what I'm saying? I mean, gladiators obviously didn't expect to make a lot of money and retire. They were just there to entertain people, right? So, carry the football for me, hit the baseball, and bounce the basketball and shoot it, and you can stay in school. So, when you graduate, if you graduate, what school is going to take you with a 1.6 GPA?
Exactly. No school. Maybe Ivy Tech, I guess.
Well, maybe a school in prison or something. You know what I'm saying? You could.
Yeah, get a certificate.
So what's the answer? Well, from our church, what are you thinking about that? Since we don't control economics and we don't control who is doing what on the 14th floor of the mayor's office, instead of sitting there and saying, oh, well, it's us, what I decided as a pastor was to create a program called, we want to stop the violence, and it essentially called Let's Talk It Out instead of Shoot It Out. And what I do is give anyone, young black men, white men, anybody, an opportunity who's feeling frustration, or someone who may have a beef with someone, to call me and let's arrange a sit down in my office. Okay, to try and diffuse the situation. Okay, because a lot of times these guys just need somebody to talk to. They're really angry and they just need somebody to talk to.
And we could have that program in the school, but there's no.
Well, you got to understand that, because I'm an activist and point out, not that I dislike the mayor, I dislike what the mayor does, and I dislike the impact his policies has on the community at large. Those who are less able to help themselves, okay, that, I've been persona non grata, which I don't, care about that. But the reality is we must all do. And as a pastor, I don't want to see, I'm tired of doing funerals. I'm tired of doing jail visits and going to a Bible study. I love Bible studies in jails, but unfortunately they're all crowded because once these men have made bad decisions, okay, now they're in jail. At some point, 80% of people in prison and jail will come home. If they come home from jail or prison unchanged, you know what's going to happen again. Now it's even worse for them because they got a record now.
Right.
So in addition to having bad schools and low economic opportunity, now you got a couple more strikes against you, right?
Yep.
Because now you're coming home with a record.
Yep.
And you're black and you may be a gangbanger.
And again, this has all been brought up to the administration. I mean, we sat down with the mayor's chief of staff. I said, okay, why don't we try to expand or offer some kind of expungement program for folks? I mean, you have a lot of folks who, and I've seen this mainly among women, but I know there's many men too, right? Who might have done something in their early 20s, late teens,
Wrote a bad check. Right.
You know exactly.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is, yeah. And now, they're 30 years old with kids in a different place.
Got a felony.
And now they have a felony and they're locked out of so many opportunities. They can't find a good job, or they have to find a job now that doesn't really do a background check or overlook it. But there's no opportunities available for them. I mean, there's some at Ivy Tech, but they need to be expanded because there's so many people in the black community here and just in the low income and poor communities, period, that have records and are unable to get jobs or have a hard time getting jobs or have a hard time getting houses because of their record. So.
Well, so guys, what do you guys think? I mean, what, I don't know. I don't know. I just think that the way the American system is set up, we are a republic. The republic is, but people always talk about this as we are a democracy. Actually, we're a republic, and the republic is supposed to protect the rights of the minority, and that's the reason you have a republic. And but here's the point that I'm making. But the rights of the minority in